thank you so much for joining me for this yoga session. Please gather all the things that are going to help you, support you during the practice. A yoga mat, or at least as much room as a yoga mat, so you can stretch beyond. You're not right up against a wall. Yoga blocks. I've got blankets for cushion. I've got something to drink. So make sure you've got all the things that will make you comfortable. And then when you feel ready, you're going to let yourself settle in on your breath. Your legs are showing up any way that feels good, whether they're right up against your body or maybe there's a big bend in your knees. And you're letting yourself settle in on your breath. You're always taking care of you. If your energy level is really low, if laying on your back or on your side in a fetal-like position is what feels good to you, please honor that. But taking the time to actively unhook and set aside all the things going on in the world, in your life personally, in the lives of everything, and set them outside of the room. I'm assuming you're in a room or the structure, or just away from you while you practice. You're setting them aside. And after this practice, maybe you'll notice that when you leave and you're done and you roll up your mat and you go and you see that stuff, maybe stuff seems lighter or you don't take it all. And that is an amazing thing. And that's definitely what yoga has helped me to really find that patience and that calm. So letting yourself settle in on your breath, finding that connection whether your eyes are closed or not. Letting your breath come out of your nose or your mouth, or a combination of your nose and mouth. And as you're ready to let those breaths get full and really take up your whole lungs as you fill up so you're going to start to build a 3-part yoga breath. So let the lower third, and then the middle third, and then the upper third fill up. And then you're going to exhale, upper third, and then release middle third, and then the lower third releases. And then you fill up on the inhale, lower third, middle third, upper third, over and over. And that can take a while to get used to it. It can be a little, it's not a lot of sensation. It can be really delicate, not very pronounced. And you're treating yourself with kindness, compassion, and love. That is easier for some than others. I encourage you to keep practicing. Find that love for yourself. Find that compassion. And then from there, you can send your love and compassion out to those that you love. And then even send that love and compassion out to those that you don't even know. Or maybe you can get to a place where you can even send that love and compassion out to people you don't particularly like. Releasing the judgment within your own head for your own things. Really trying to practice that benevolent witness. That judge can wait by all the things you left outside of the yoga space you're in. And you are cultivating a connection to that benevolent observer, benevolent witness. Keep your awareness at your navel, especially if you find yourself with those train of thoughts and your breath, your in and out isn't keeping you very connected. Then bring your awareness to your navel, that place that we all started. And as you inhale, press that navel into the space in front of you. That's the lower third of your lungs. Then the middle third of your lungs fills up. You can feel those ribs move up and apart. And the breath goes into the upper third. That heart lifts a little bit in your chest. And then you exhale, your heart and chest relax. Ribs move down and together, and now you pull that navel back and up into your body. And then the inhale happens again, and you fill up navel, ribs, chest. Exhale fully, chest, ribs, navel. Full deep breaths. If you did choose to start lying down, bringing yourself into a seated position, making sure that your legs don't rush. Take your time. If your legs have been in a seated position for a while, take time to rearrange. Your hands can make their way to your heart, or they can land at your navel, or one of each, or just rest on your side. It really is up to you how you want to show up. We're going to pause. We're going to be grateful to ourselves for doing yoga, and we're going to set the intention to cultivate that benevolent witness and treat ourselves with kindness, compassion, and love. And if you'd like to expand on that or add a personal thing that you are working on, please take 3 big deep breaths to do that. All of us breathing in that full, deep inhale, filling up, and then exhaling, sealing those intentions in, sealing that awareness in so that we plant that seed so then we can grow from that seed from this practice. This is then we're going to sprinkle some water on it with some movement. You can let your eyes open if that feels good. You can let yourself come off your cushion so you are more on a flat, supported surface. I want you to always make sure that you feel comfortable. You can keep those knees really bent. Don't put any weight on your limbs, and let your legs go back and forth a few times, waking up from that seated position. Inhaling and exhaling, staying with your breath. And then back into a comfortable seated position, and I'll start this way, but I'm going to turn so you can see the move. I've got my legs crossed, one right in front of the other. I'm turning so you can see I'm going to really engage that girdle, pull that back body down, lift that front body, keep those shoulders out of the ears, lift those arms, take your time. Breathing as you reach up, keep those shoulders engaged as you bring those hands together, and then let them come down. This is where you don't want to hurt your elbows. You're going to let your fingers, if it's comfortable, turn towards your bottom. If not, let them be where, I don't want you to force them into this position. I want you to be careful with your elbows. You're not hyperextending. And you can stay right here lifting that heart. Keep that neck nice and long. Or you can lift those hips, press those knees down and lift those hips. Remember, I'm not hyperextending. And then bringing yourself down to that seated position to then lift up above your head. And now you're going to come forward, and I should have said, get your blocks handy if you'd like them. And you're going to reach and pause. Wasn't that just a beautiful little Kriya movement? Keep trying to pull. I felt really good to me. Keep trying to pull those lower bodies down into the place behind you as you reach those upper bodies into the place in front of you. And you're also trying to stretch yourself right and left. So you're trying to go north, south, east, west, inhaling and exhaling. You're going to lift yourself up, come into that upright position. Pay attention to what leg is in front or on top if you had it on top. And then you're going to switch. Do whatever feels good in between if you want to do some windshield wipers or something. Find that sturdy place of support. Sturdy place of support, that kind of is the same thing. But you're pulling down that back body, lifting that front body to get yourself into that place that supports you. You're going to lift those, so your rib cage is right over your pelvis, those arms up just to get that nice stretch all down your side. I even get a little popping in my back. It feels like it gets a little bit longer. And then I'm going to bring my hands. I'm not putting any pressure on my wrists or my elbows, and then lift that. It feels different on this side, on the other leg, the non-habitual leg. Stay with your breath. Remember, if you lift up and you're like, no, too much, just come down and stay with just that upper body movement. You don't have to add the lower body movement. And then you're going to bring yourself down if you did lift up. And then you're going to once again come up. Keep those shoulder girdles engaged, so those shoulders stay over here. So your arms are going to be a little bit further apart when you have those shoulders engaged. And then let yourself reach and lift. I love to press back with my whole self. And then from that place of grounding, I get this wonderful stretch all down my back body, down my side body, engaging, keeping that girdle engaged, and then using those blocks, which adds just that little bit extra juiciness into the stretch. I've got my feet flexed, my whole lower body is engaged. It's always trying to be stiff as a board. And then my upper body is light as a feather. And then let yourself come up. Here's where we're going to bring those legs together to that position that feels good. Just to bend those knees side to side. Breathing full and deep. Navel, ribs, chest. Exhaling fully, chest, ribs, navel. Still not putting any weight on those limbs. Even though I'm leaning back a little bit, I'm still holding myself in my trunk. I want you to be trying to do that same thing. Try not to put all the weight on your limbs. Bring yourself around onto those hands and knees. Make sure you've got cushion if you like it. I definitely think it adds a wonderful support so that it doesn't, my knees aren't constantly talking to me the whole time, and I'm able then to concentrate on the movement in the trunk. And so I would encourage you, if you're like, oh, this just really hurts my knees, well then hopefully it's not within, it's on inside, because I know there's internal knee things where it is an issue. And there are things you can do to help relieve that. You can always roll a blanket up and put it, try things, try to figure out what feels good. That sometimes provides relief on the knees. It lets you really pull back into that place behind you. And the more you try to find that, even in this position, it's a resting position, this child position, you're still in a hinge. You're still trying to bring the back body down and lift the front body, keeping those girdles engaged. I find the more I engage those, as I keep like that blood flowing and that little tweak, that helps with then keeping everything really supple. All right. From your child, if you aren't reaching your arms forward, take time to do that. If you are reaching onto blocks, make sure you're always protecting your elbows. I'm never hyperextending my elbows no matter what I'm doing. It never happens. We're going to lift up a little bit. Take that right arm and slide it underneath that left arm. And then you're trying to walk the arms away from each other as you are in this child position. I get this wonderful stretch down my right, outside of my right shoulder. You're engaging as much as feels good to get your stretch your neck. Try not to let's let your head dangle. Try to be really aware of how you're pulling your head. Always right in line with your spine. Inhale and exhale. And then lift yourself up. Coming to the other side. Same thing. I'm not hyperextending any joints. I'm never hurting myself. I'm reaching that left arm through. As I bring myself down, it's not really a twist, it's a shoulder stretch. So I'm still trying to keep my chest and my navel, my heart and my navel square to the floor. I'm not reaching all the way through to then twist. And then bring yourself up, coming up into a table. Now we're going to come into that stable table. So stay with that awareness of holding yourself in your trunk. Walk those knees right underneath those hips. Walk those hands so they're right underneath those shoulders. Spread those fingers wide. And then try to have a gentle grip. Try to bring the weight to the ball of your hand. You can even lift those wrists up so you can feel that engagement in the ball. Don't hyperextend those elbows. Bring those wrists down. I feel this little pocket, like a little pocket of protection. It keeps my delicate wrists protected. And I'm having the same amount of pressure pressing down with all my limbs. And then go through that teeny tiny cat and cow. This is just this little teeny tiny pelvic tilt. You're pulling that back body down, lifting that front body, and then you're going to go through that pectoral crunch is what I called in my head. I don't know if I ever said that out loud. But you are pulling those blades together, pulling them apart. So this is your pectoral muscles. This is your front and back body working together, even though your back body is the one doing so much movement. You're going to pause, pressing down. This is where the pectorals are doing more work, keeping that back nice and not crunched. So you want to be uncrunched, and you want those shoulders out of your ears. And then you want to keep that uncrunched feeling. You want to keep that tucked pelvis. So you're trying to uncrunch the upper, and you're trying to tuck the lower. I know, it's so weird. But then the movement is in the middle. Inhale and exhale. All this while you're not hyperextending those elbows, while you're not hurting those wrists, while you're not doing horrible things to your fingers. You're keeping your digits nice and safe. Inhale and exhale. And your feet can be either toes out on the floor, or you can have the heels up so the toes are getting a nice little stretch, a little bit with the toes tucked. I guess that'd be the way. And then you're going to pause back into a child. So you've moved, you were in that stable table, and then I had you move, I had you engage in those girdles, and then put that movement, and then I had you engage in the girdles, and I had you protect all the delicate parts. And then I had you put the movement in that middle back. I was very specific, and I mean, you're definitely the boss of you, but hopefully that engagement piece is making sense. And really adding that does, I think, make for a wonderful stretch. Your blocks ready. Start with your knees on the ground. You can use the blocks to help you stay a little bit lifted. So then bring that right foot up between your hands. Try to have that place where you are holding yourself in that, what's the right word? I mean, it's a math term. Like it's not perpendicular, or like it's an angle, right? This is an angle. My legs are at an angle. I got my right foot and my left leg, my left knee on railroad tracks to get that stability. I'm engaging that lower girdle, so I'm pulling that back body down, lifting that front body. That you're keeping the legs not internally or externally rotated. They are in a neutral position. And then your hands are going to come to your heart, and you're breathing full and deep, navel, ribs, chest, exhaling fully, chest, ribs, navel. The next time you exhale, bring that chest, or bring that navel into and up. You're going to rotate with those left elbows to the outside of that right knee. Inhaling and exhaling. And then here's where, if you want to, curl that back toe. And you can be like, I don't want to do that prayer twist. You can also, careful with the joints, have your left arm down, still lift that knee, lift that right arm up. If you don't like that right arm up, you can always come down. Inhale and exhale. No matter what you've chosen, if it's too much, you can always come up and try the other. Ooh, and try not to hurt yourself as you fall, and don't take yourself too seriously. Inhale and exhale. And then you're going to, if you did have yourself lifted, bring yourself down. You're going to bring that right leg back by that right knee back by that left knee. Here's where we're going to pause, and don't worry, we're going to go to the other side. But we're going to pause and lift. You're either going to lift into downward dog if you want to, because maybe you're like, no thanks, I just want to go right to a child. But if you're like, yes, I'm ready for a downward dog, let's lift ourselves. Keep those knees bent. Inhale and exhale. Keep those shoulders out of your ears. You've got those girdles engaged. This is merely a hinge. You are propping yourself up with your limbs. The more you bend your knees, the more it helps to put the weight in the back body. It's almost like a little bit like you're going to take off. Like you can just jump, but you don't have to do that jumping, but that's a sensation. Especially if you find the balls of your feet, not your toes. Let those heels be heavy. And remember, coming down into table or child at any time is perfectly, it's what needs to happen. I want you to do that. After a while, you're all going to come down into that child and rest completely. And then from that kneeling position, using whatever you need, and pausing to take whatever drink you need. Staying with your breath. That left leg comes up. You're on railroad tracks. You've got that girdle engaged. Remember to use a blanket or a towel down in order to protect your delicate joints. You're staying with that breath. You're staying with that engagement even as those hands come to your heart. And then the exhale comes. When the exhale comes, because you're the boss of your own breath, you're going to twist either that right elbow to the outside of that left knee, and you're going to stay in that knee down twist, or you know you don't want to try it, even though I say, even though you didn't like it on their side, still try it on this side, but you can always bring that arm down, and then when you're ready, only if you're ready, curl up into the twisted runner's lunge. You bring that back knee down anytime you want. This is one of those poses, and we were here for a little bit. It kind of makes you uncomfortable, and I kind of like to do that. I want you to be uncomfortable. I want you to stay with your breath. I want you to keep cultivating that benevolent witness, that connection to that benevolent observer, and you're coming at yourself with kindness, compassion, and love, and you're definitely coming at me with kindness and compassion and love. I know you are. I can feel it. All right, pressure yourself back into your child, coming down just however feels good to you. Breathing full and deep. Remember, you can always press up into a downward dog. Breathing full and deep. Navel, ribs, chest. Exhaling fully. Chest, ribs, navel. Stay with your breath. And then I'm going to move, because I'm going to move the blanket out of the way, because I'm going to walk up. And you're taking care of yourself, because you can also step up from kneeling to standing, or you can come from downward dog. Keep that weight in that back body and that lower body. Use whatever support feels good as you walk up. Remember to keep those knees bent. Here's where I want you to find support. If this is new to you, or you find yourself not having good balance, and utilize that support so you can play around with coming back on your heels like you're almost going to fall back on your butt, or up a little bit on your toes and balls like you're going to do a somersault, and then find yourself in between that place, coming into a dangle. Only dangling as much as feels good. If you want to weight down, your hands behind your head and gently pull down. That just adds this wonderful. So I don't have my fingers clasped. I'm gently pressing into my head. I'm hinging. Inhale and exhale, breathing full and deep, keeping those knees bent. You, of course, are always in charge. If that's too much movement for you, if you feel like you're going to vomit, then please, don't do that just because I'm recommending it. You're always the boss of you. All right, we're coming into forward fold. I want you to engage. We're going to be here for just a few more breaths as you inhale halfway into that flat back. Really put the weight in that back body. Exhale, hinge into that forward fold. Keep those knees really, really bent. Inhale helps lift you up halfway into that flat back. Those arms can reach back behind you, or they can be right above your knees. Exhale, reach back for the toes. And then here's where you're going to decide. Do you want to lift, putting that weight in that back body, keeping that back nice and long? And if that makes you feel dizzy, come up in steps into that awkward chair, and then lift up. Only reaching into as much of a back bend as feels good. Remember to keep those girdles engaged, shoulders out of your ears, and then hands come to your heart, your navel, one of each, out to the side, whatever feels good. Breathing full and deep, navel, ribs, chest, exhaling fully, chest, ribs, navel. Stay with your breath. And then coming to the long edge of your space, starting with in the middle of your space, coming into your mountain, finding those feet right underneath those ankles, underneath those knees, underneath those hips. You're finding the balls and the heels, that tripod, those four corners, lifting your digits, spreading them wide, and then bringing them down for that gentle grip. Your toes really never do any work, so start trying to really pay attention to that. Kneecaps are pulled up into your thighs, and then that lower girdle engagement. Back body comes down, front body lifts, and it's navel dimples, so the dimples in the back, navel's in the front. You are in that solid as a rock with those nice loose joints. You don't have a hyperextension in your knees. You've got those kneecaps pulled up into your thighs in order to protect yourself as well. And then that solid as a rock lower body then is the support for the light as a feather upper body. The front body, the heart lifts into the space right in front of you. The blades come down in order to support, and then those shoulders have a gentle pressure on the top of them as you pull them out of your ears, and your collarbone slides apart. And then you're in charge of where you want your arms. Whether you want them reaching naturally, you're not hyperextending those elbows, down at your sides, breathing full and deep, or they could be on your person. You are always in charge. Inhale and exhale, but come into that mountain, and your legs are, especially a mountain, are not internally or externally rotated. They are in that neutral position, and that girdle engagement is you basically plugging in, and then I want you to move from that plug-in place. So we're going to come a little bit wider, keeping those legs protected with those kneecaps pulled up into your thighs. Let those legs either heel toe out or walk out as far as feels good, where you feel you still have control. It should not be, because we are going to come forward with a big shoulder stretch. So I don't want it to be this super wide stretch. I want you to always feel like you have control. And I'm showing you how I'm always lifting that front body, and then I'm pulling that back body. See how my hand back down? It's pulling that down. And then we're going to hinge. So make sure that you are engaging muscle and framework in order to find that hinge. We're going to start with those arms wide. The right arm is going to go up. So my right arm is going up, my left arm is going down. And it doesn't matter if you go opposite. Just make sure you're managing this. I'm going to bend the elbows, and my right elbow is going to come sit inside my left elbow, and I can reach all the way around in palms. You can reach back of hands. You can also reach above your shoulders. This is where you want to make sure you're holding that weight in that lower body, keeping those kneecaps protected. No matter what you're doing, if you're too far apart, make sure you come together so you feel supported. You're going to let yourself hang in this hanging knot. Really bend those knees in order to protect those hamstrings. Inhale and exhale. Only come as far forward as feels good. Maybe your legs aren't as wide, or maybe you're not hanging as far. Inhale and exhale. Lift yourself up. If you're still with those arms the way they are, now I want you to take a pause and notice, oh yeah, the right arm is what's on top, or whatever arm you have on top. I want you to let yourself go. I want you to let the upper body go. I want you to walk those legs together so they're more in that mountain position. And I want you to receive how that feels. Inhale and exhale. I feel that there's a lot of sensation all over my body in that stretch. And hopefully you felt it. You didn't feel out of control. That's why I'm helping you, remind you how to keep those legs protected, how to put the weight in the back body. I'll turn and do it a little bit to the side. Because I'm always putting that weight in that back body, and that helps to protect. Kneecaps up into thighs. I'm going to bring my left arm up and my right arm down. I've got my shoulder girdle engaged, so the shoulders are pulling out of the ears. I'm going to bring those elbows, and remember, it doesn't have to be that way. It can always just be that reach for the shoulders, and then keep that weight in the back body. Make sure that you're supporting yourself with your legs exactly where they need to be. You're going to let yourself hang in your hanging knot forward fold. It can be really bent-kneed. Make sure that your balls are doing the work, not your toes. You can move as much or as little as feels good. Inhale and exhale. And then let your arm, oh wait, I think we did have it where you stayed together. And then I had you lift yourself up. You're hinging up because it's good to practice that. And then bring yourself to standing in your mountain. Notice how you feel. Stay with that breath. So you're connecting to that navel, that place right in the middle of you, right where we started. And as you inhale, fill up navel, ribs, chest. And then when you exhale, you release chest, ribs, navel. And that's when you pull that navel back and up. And you're still adding that body engagement where you're tilting that pelvis, bringing that back body down, that front body up. Same with the upper body. It's always moving in the same directions, breathing full and deep. The front body is always lifting up, back body always pressing down and grounding. It doesn't matter what position you're in, even when you're laying on your stomach. That is what I'm trying to get you to connect to. All right, back into that downward dog. This is how I like to come out of standing. You can, of course, just come down. We're going to eventually make our way onto our back. I don't want you to think you have to go right there. I want you to marinate maybe in a downward dog. That's what I'm going to do, breathing full and deep. If you want to come right to child, you can do that. Take a couple breaths from your downward dog to rest in child, or just rest down in child, doesn't matter. And then bring yourself around onto those backs, taking time to make sure you've got whatever cushion you need for your body. This is where you don't want it too high, so you don't want to have it be like a feather bed, and you don't want to have like a super high pillow so it throws your neck out of joint. But I do, to help me keep my neck long, to help me to remember to keep my chin tucked so the back of my neck stays long, I like to roll up a thin blanket and then get my occipital lobe. That's just another way that I support myself to make sure I'm setting myself up for that ultimate stretch. And I'm also protecting myself as I do that. So before I even start moving, I've got those girdles engaged. I've got that pelvis pulled into place. Pubic bone and navel are in the same plane. So you can think of your pubic bone as 6 and your navel as 12. You can bring that diamond shape to the thumb to the navel, the pubic bone with the 4 fingers, and see if your pubic bone, your fingers are pointing down, and then you want to crank your pelvis into place, shoulder blades spread apart, and then start to move. Only if you keep yourself in that supported position so you are protecting your body. And if it doesn't feel good to have those feet up, you always just keep them down and do these wonderful windshield wipers. Stay with that breath. It doesn't matter what you choose with your feet. You are keeping that awareness in your trunk, and you're feeling yourself hold yourself in your trunk. And it's just a little bit more supported if you've got your feet down, but still work. You're still doing work. If you've got your feet up, you're doing a little bit more work. Keep those lower bodies heavy. Eventually you're going to be done with the movement. Feet are going to come down. We're going to reach into that bridge position. So feet are walked in pretty close to your body. Make sure those balls are engaged. Keep those legs in that position of neutrality. They're not internally or externally rotated. Reach down by your hips, and then keeping that pelvis engaged, lift up into your bridge. And you can just breathe here for 1 beat. If you want to lower and lift, do that. Whatever you're doing, you're keeping that pelvis engaged. You can stay here for 3 breaths, and then let yourself come down 1 vertebra at a time. And then here's where you reset. Keep that awareness on your trunk, how you're holding yourself in your trunk. Inhale and exhale. All right, let's do reclining pigeon. Back into that beginning bridge. Now you're going to bring that right ankle on the left knee. Only pick up that left foot if it feels good here. This is where you want to keep those girdles engaged, shoulders out of your ears. If you do want to reach through, you're not holding on for dear life. It's just a gentle reach through, bringing yourself back down, keeping those girdles engaged. Keep trying to bring those shoulders down. If it's too much and you don't feel comfortable and you feel like you're just straining, then bring yourself to a place where you're not, because that's not the point of this. I don't want you to be straining. I definitely want you to be feeling a good stretch. And that's one of those things where you can move into, if you keep practicing this, you're eventually going to get to those deeper and bigger stretches. All right, bring that left foot down is the one I had up. Then I'm going to bring that right foot down next to the left. Do whatever feels good. Make sure those girdles are in that place of support back into that bridge position to bring that left ankle on top of the right knee. I'm engaging that whole left side from glute and hip flexor down to heel of my foot, keeping those glutes on the floor even when I lift that right foot up off the floor, keeping that foot flexed. See how I've got kind of that angle thing as well here, just like I had when I was kneeling. Inhale and exhale, coming up into that fuller expression of that pigeon posture, as full as expression as feels good. And I'm telling you, the more you put the awareness in your trunk and you try to pull those glutes down so you get that whole back body on the floor, the more you're just going to get that stretch where, concentrated. It's not going to feel like you go, what am I even doing? I remember thinking I didn't even know what I was stretching for a long time in yoga. Let yourself release, rock, roll, whatever feels good. If you took off any of your layers, make sure that you get them near you or put them on if you're ready for the relaxation portion. I also want you to take a few moments if you need a drink. And here's where you've got time to do 5 more breaths in some posture that would feel good to you. I didn't really take you through any twists. So there's always twists. I'm going to say, don't twist your low back, though you're always the boss of you. So you can do whatever. Just don't hurt yourself. Make sure your girl's engaged. You can bring yourself into a heart opener, letting yourself open up that way. It can be with a butterfly, so you're getting a psoas opener as well as a heart opener. Make sure that you keep those girdles engaged even as you do this. It takes a while to find that block. So if you're new to this or you haven't done it a lot with the block, this is where you're doing the benevolent witness. So finding that perfect place in that fish posture can take a little bit. You're always in charge. And then protecting yourself as you come out of whatever position. Happy baby would also be something that would be a lovely finisher as you then bring yourself into relaxation, however that looks. I'm going to sit in meditation. If you would like to join me in sitting in meditation, you can do that. Or if you would like to lay on your back, that's another great way to end. If it's not comfortable to be on your back, you can also lay on your side and make sure, whatever you choose, that you're supported. Like if you're sitting up, and it would be more comfortable to sit against a wall, please do that. If it'd be more comfortable to have something underneath your ankles, please make sure it's there. So here's where we integrate. Please let yourself settle in. positioned, your awareness comes back to your physical body, to your breath. Let whatever small movements, especially if you're laying down, definitely take this slow little twitch of the fingers and the toes, a gentle circling of the wrists and the ankles, and then a bend of the knees and the elbows. And then on your back, make sure that you find that nice rock or windshield wiper before you roll to one side. And then wherever you're positioned, bring your awareness to your navel. And you are grateful to yourself for being born and grateful to yourself for doing yoga. And you've planted some seeds. Take them with you. You've sprinkled them, and you can keep on caring for them and watering for them out in your real life. So if you're still laying down, press yourself up from that fetal-like position. Your hands can make their way to your heart. And then I bow. Namaste.